Gerard Maley, thank you for joining Stateline.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Let's begin by laying out the situation for our viewers facing corrections in the Northern Territory. We have a record number of prisoners in jails, peaking to 2,800 this week. That's the highest yet. We have overcrowding across the prison network and reports of violence between prisoners and against guards. Gerard Maley, has your workplace become a very dangerous place?
It's not dangerous. The situation right now is a challenging environment because we've got a record number of people, but this is about community safety, and we need to make sure that people in the Northern Territory know that there's going to be a consequence for your action.
Just last month, a long-standing correctional officer lost his eye after being assaulted by a prisoner. The union have blamed overcrowding for it. I mean, has the government lost control of the situation?
The CLP government invested an additional $120 million into the correction system. This is extra money that's going to go into the correction system to make sure that officers are safe, to make sure prisoners are safe, and corrections also was one of our pre-election commitments. We join youth justice into the correction system. So we've got this large cohort of workers who look after young people and offenders right across the Northern Territory, and we understand it's a challenging situation, but we're working hard to do that.
Minister, outside of the prison network, the government's crime reforms have had a trickle-down effect. Courts are overwhelmed and rehab providers in the community are waiting up to 6 weeks to be able to go into prison to see people to do assessments. What does this say about a system that, one, isn't providing swift justice, and two, it's not rehabilitating people at a time when they need it?
We've been in office for about 9 months. What we inherited was a mess of the prison system and the court system in relation to lack of infrastructure and lack of planning for many years before that. We're trying to keep the community safe, so we've got to get that balance right of rehabilitation and punishment and keeping the community as safe, because in August last year people were feeling unsafe in their own homes, they were feeling unsafe to go shopping, so we are trying to make sure that the community is safe, and that's our paramount consideration, and rehabilitate these offenders because we want to break the cycle of reoffending.
But when you look at the data, there hasn't been a real considerable drop in crime since the CLP came to office. Is this all smoke and mirrors? And is it time for the government to admit that its approach to dealing with crime in the Northern Territory isn't working?
Again, I challenge you that. I walk around the community a lot and I talk to my colleagues, and the people are feeling safer. And there are stats that are going down, and people can pick and choose what stats you want to look at.
As part of the government's crime reforms, the age of criminal responsibility dropped from 12 years of age to 10. Decades of research has shown that being tough on crime doesn't work. Is the government compounding and entrenching the very behaviours that it's trying to stop? And is it condemning Territory children to a lifetime of being in the criminal justice system because the government isn't dealing with the underlying issue that many of these children need help?
We're trying to get these young offenders and wrap these community support around them so they don't come into entrenched into the prison system. We want to make sure that we look at the cycle of offending. We know that education is an issue. I've been into the prisons and I've spoken with adult prisoners who don't even know the alphabet. They can't count to 10, and they're middle-aged people. I've been to the youth justice where young offenders are in there going to school, and they're not used to that because wherever they come from in their community, they don't do that.
Minister, isn't that a reflection that of systemic failures on the part of successive governments in the Northern Territory? And are we punishing poverty here?
Well, look, I can't speak for what the other government and the reason why they made their decisions, but what I can say is when we come into office some 9 months ago, community safety was #1 concern for most Territorians, and then the economy was second. So what we've come into office, and we're going to, and we've been still working hard to make the community safer.
Minister, there's been a lot of criticism over the government's decision to use a private company to help with the security of prisoners. Some worry that it's a step towards a privatised corrections system. Considering there's so much pressure on the system, are you looking to a future where the private sector will become more involved?
We are certainly not ruling it out because there is a whole range of jobs outside the prison, outside behind the wire, which can be used for independent contractors. The courts at the moment, the Supreme Court have got Wilson's, and now the local court is going to have G4S, which are still trained, experienced officers working there.
Can you understand the concern that's out there around companies profiting off the Territory's prison crisis?
this private enterprise right across Australia, in fact right across the world, there are private firms that run prisons in their entirety. That's not our plan at all. Our plan is to make sure that we have highly trained officers behind the wire and then independent contractors such as G4S doing the services outside that. So we need to make sure that we look after the prison officers and the prisoners, and we are trying to recruit as quick as we can. We've got a rolling recruiting process, but we can't keep up because previous governments have let crime get out of control, and we're here to fix that.
Gerard Maley, thank you for speaking to Stateline.
Thank you.